Remember you are dust, and to dust you shall return. Today marks Ash Wednesday and the beginning of Lent. For many Christians, Ash Wednesday is a reminder of our mortality and death. And don't get me wrong, there are times where we could all use that reminder. It is so easy to take life for granted, and it is particularly easy for some of us to distance ourselves from death and everyday life. Money, wealth, and privilege may not buy happiness, but they do buy a measure of protection from the everyday grind of life. But the reality is that many of us don't need to be reminded of death. We see it and experience it all around us. Many of us, despite what we may tell ourselves, don't belong to the top 1% and are closer to being unhoused than we are to being the next millionaire. Most of us don't have the resources to escape the current reality of death and suffering. Well, not for long anyway. So for Lent this year, I've decided to focus on the reality of God's love and presence in the midst of death and destruction. I will do this through the lens of Mary, the mother of Jesus, and what she can teach us about faith, hope, God's presence, and grief. I'll be honest, I have generally viewed Mary as simply an extra in the larger narrative of the gospel. When I think of her, it's mainly during Advent and for a short amount of time before moving on to Jesus. But I've been learning that there's so much more that I can learn about Mary and about faith and God's presence in the midst of grief and suffering. I will be heavily relying on the book Birthing the Holy by Christine Walters Paintner to aid in this Lenten journey. What better companion to our pain and agony than the one who suffered the loss of a beloved son? My plan is, and this may change depending on how busy I am, is to write a short reflection or prayer 3 days a week, and on Sundays, if time permits, I will write my usual short sermon/reflection on the week's lectionary passage. As we begin this time of Lent, may we remember that even as we navigate a time of suffering, uncertainty, and grief, that we do not do so alone.